Oh, come on, that's the best you can do.
What up, Twitch? What up, Icy Zorro in the chat room and Polyfuse? Good to see you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.
One of these days, I'm going to get a romper room mirror and be like, I see Polyfuse, I see Zorro. For the old kids.
And we've lost our viewers.
Yes, yeah. People don't remember. Hey, was that what you've been geeking out on BCon, or what you've been?
I've been playing a ton of Monster World, dude. Way too much. But I also saw I had to catch up for we're actually going to record some Quest for 100 tomorrow. I had to catch up, so I saw 5 movies in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, Lord,
dang.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of movies. A lot of really good movies. A couple not so good movies. What else?
They can't all be good.
Yeah.
You were watching The Stooges?
Why I oughta?
Anyway, wow, that escalated quickly. Yeah, so I just Thank you, Icy.
Skull.
That was amazing. Yeah, so I've been watching a lot of
You
movies.
are welcome.
Yeah, DC needs to just sit down in a room one day. And I said this the other night. I put this on the chat when you guys asked, man, what's the big difference between DC and Marvel? And it's funny because at the same time the cast was going, my son and I were watching Avengers, the first one, right? And it was right in that final battle scene. And when I was watching that final battle scene, the cinematography, the way they were able to transition from one hero to another. So you see Hawkeye shooting arrows without looking, shooting against Loki, who catches one, it blows up, and then Hulk throwing Loki around. The way they did that fight was so incredible, and how they were able to give everyone the same limelight. And when you compare that to Justice League, you kind of saw it, but like you guys were mentioning, it was dark orange. Like Aquaman doing some crazy stuff, flying through the air, going through like that. That's not Aquaman that I know. So I mean, it was cool they made him badass, but it just looked far-fetched. And granted, we're dealing with a god, a billionaire who does everything, and known the man, and a goddess. But yeah, you look at the two differences of it, and they harnessed it with the Avengers, and they're struggling with Justice. So they need to keep Cavill, they need to keep Gadot, and they got to figure out how to put Cyborg, Aquaman, and just figure out the Batman flick.
Well, I think they figured out how to put Aquaman. They took Aquaman to the arc where he lost without losing his hand, but they took him to the arc in the comics where he lost his hand, and they really showed how much of a badass he could be in the comics.
Absolutely.
That story arc during that time, there was not one person that talked about how unbadass Aquaman was. It showed, once he got that big gnarly beard and the long hair, and the piranhas ate his hand, and everything that went after that, you saw how great of a character he was. They figured that out with these.
Yeah.
Granted, the one-liners that they gave him weren't the best in the world.
Weren't the best, but they were entertaining.
I think they've got Flash in a good place as well. The problem is they can't get a director for Flash because everybody keeps going through the rotating revolving door. And as of right now, they want Flashpoint to be done, but they have no slate for it to get done because they can't get anybody to stay on to do the film. And that's another big problem that they're having.
Because they recognize that the DC filmmakers and powers have no freaking patience.
Yeah.
Even though they're having formulaic problems now, Marvel, a large part of how Disney and Marvel got to where they are now is because they took, a decade and built and built.
They look like they're doing is slowing down. Looks like DCU is slowing down. Like what you're saying, what Marvel did. It looks like they're finally slowing down and going, hey, we're not going to throw everything out at once. Now we're going to push everything back a little bit. We have Aquaman coming out later this year. That's all we have coming out later this year.
Which is good. It's smart.
It's also been reported that Snyder didn't walk away. He was let go from DC. They want to get away from the dark tone, it seems like, too, which is what they need to do when it comes to Superman and Batman. Superman has to have that lighthearted approach. Batman is the one that needs to be brooding, because if they're both doing it, it's not.
I think I said it at the time, but it has to be said again. About 5 minutes into Wonder Woman, I thought, No, wait. Is this true? 15 minutes in, I realized, yes, it is. DC found the light switch.
DC confirmed that Superman is immortal, that he will live until the Earth ends. And in Action Comics 1000, which is not actually 1000, but it's just the anniversary of it, there is a story showing him billions of years later, still alive, recalling how the world and everything went, and his family died, and he's still all good to go, and nothing's happened to him. So does that make his character better, or does that hurt and turn him into like no consequence, like some people have brought up?
He's the most generic hero. He has every power. He can do everything. He's super strong. He can fly. He's invulnerable. All this stuff, and just making him immortal is just another checkbox in the trash pile of power this guy has.
Again, no skin in the game. If there's no threat, what's there. Also, did you guys know Swamp Thing Winter is out? I mean, that's the much better story to talk about here. I mean, they have a great Len Wayne tribute to it in there. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I really recommend it.
All right, I'm gonna put this in here. I'm sorry. This guy was created in 1938, for God's sake. I mean, it was well before any of us, probably three of us put together age-wise, and still, it's coming up to almost 100 years this guy was around. He was the original guy. This was the brainchild of people back from the 30s, when there wasn't a podcast, there wasn't hardly freaking real cars. I mean, you've got all these old-ass, like, Bane's just slightly faster than the horse, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing. It was just right after the crash. It was like all this stuff going on, and this character came around because of the fact it was something for kids to look to start off with. It was a comic book. Kids are reading this. This is awesome. This is better than what the hell is going on in real life 6 years before World War II. You guys are dumping on this guy, but he's the original superhero, for God's sake. And if it wasn't for Superman, most of these comic books probably wouldn't be where they're at. I mean, it was...
Yeah, but if it wasn't for the character developments and writings of like what was going on over at Timely Comics and Marvel, it wouldn't have pressed the better writing for comic books. And he could have started off the whole genre of stuff, but make some stakes. I mean, when you kill him off and then bring him back 6 months later, that's it. Don't make him just immortal. Do something that's gonna make him actually able to die. And now that you're saying, oh, we're showing a story, it's not an Elseworld, we're showing that he does live for 1 billion years. Now there's like, okay, there's no story that can put anything against him to show that there's any kind of fear of anything.
That's not true. I mean, just because he lives forever, if that's what they're saying, doesn't mean you can't make stories.
I'm really going to need you to take your stick and hoop and go play somewhere else. You're talking about these 1930 things that should be honored and cherished since they've been around forever.
I don't see you out there driving a Model T.
All right. Mr. Masonic, let me tag in on this one. Big Papa. Mr. Rudy, director man, our beautiful producer. Let me go for what's probably the only good line in Batman v Superman. Crime on rise in Gotham. In other news, water wet. Superman's immortal. They actually even specifically laid out, I'm going to reassure you here a little bit, they even specifically laid out that he is literally immortal. You all are nerds and geeks, I know you know exactly what that means, so get your panties out of a bunch. It just means he can't die of old age or sickness. You take his head off, he's still dead. In Superman's case, take him away from the yellow sun, he's also out in space, so he's double dead.
Well, next to a bunch of Krypton, he's dead.
But in this case, as my buddy Mr. Vader here was saying, we're also talking about the guy who kicked off his comic run as the premier superhero, arguably, with not only leaping tall buildings in a single bound, but my favorite part of his very first story. Uses his super hearing to hear this guy beating his wife.
Yeah.
Hops in through the window, says, "Hey, what you doing?" And beats the crap out of him. And then throws him through a wall for good measure. And I say, that's A-okay. Plus, it's still a hell of a lot better idea than they had for the Joker, because this is just, oh, hey, here's the story you already thought was coming. All right, the Joker was really a demon all this time. Really? No. Right.
Yeah. For the first time in quite a while, Fantastic Four, they in the comics are going to be getting new costumes, and I kind of wanted to get people's thoughts on what the costumes look like. And
Crap. Let's move on.
Crap. I agree with Masonic Vader. They're terrible.
Let's not spend the last 20 minutes on that. Let's find another topic. Can we talk about Harry Potter or something? Come on.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
I don't want to picture him in spandex.
Oh, you didn't see Equus then?
That wasn't spandex.
I
it
swear the green and white costumes look like a knockoff of the 80s Voltron group.
Oh, it's so bad.
well, here's
was
the
horrible.
and this is the only thing I wanted to get from everybody else in the chat and stuff. This is the costumes, so yeah, they are quite interesting. But I wanted to get like, what are the worst comic book costumes of all time, or what are the best?
Can I? I'm going to quote a famous person on TV by the name of Charles Barkley. Terrible. Terrible.
Just like his goal swing. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, Ben looks a little stupid in the shorts.
Yeah,
Ben looks
but-
terrible in that.
Terrible.
Johnny looks okay.
I like the jacket part. The jacket part's fun.
No.
Well, here's the thing.
It looks stupid.
When Mess first texted or communicated to us the possibility of this as a topic, he said, okay, the original blue or the white and black ones or the new ones. And I got to go original blue.
I agree.
White and black ones were guiding you straight to the crotch all the time. The new ones just look like security guard outfits. They're
No.
terrible.
I realized what they look like. The new ones look like the greeter at Walmart in the future.
Right?
I thought they looked like futuristic flight suits. I don't know.
They
My
suck.
favorite Fantastic Four version, though, was when they did Earth's Mightiest Heroes on Cartoon Network, because they had fundamentally the same costumes except a little bit of the of like a metal insignia. And Ben not only wore like full pants and boots, but would always paint a 4 on his chest, and I loved that. That was my favorite part.
Ben just looks stupid in the new one.
They look like biker shorts on.
Yes.
The shorts are a little
Absolutely.
awkward. The shorts are a little awkward.
You know, I just got done with my spin class. Now I'm going to go save the world.
Well, and correct me, Igor. This correct me if this is a comic book thing or just a movie thing. But wasn't part of the whole original blue the fact that was material that went through the cosmic storm with them, so it was kind of it would work with them, like with whatever their powers were. So how can they change costumes? Isn't that stuff just like if Johnny blazes up? Isn't that stuff just going to burn off?
Well, you know how the answer in DC Comics is, well, Batman planned for that, right? The answer in Marvel Comics is, well, Mr. Fantastic invented that.
Oh,
Well,
Reed.
I mean,